In this video, I'll be going over some styling techniques for a pivot table, as well as offering a few tips and tricks for writing formulas that could help in data analysis. So what we're going to do here is take a boring looking pivot table like this and turn it into something like this, and add another stats page that is linked to it that looks like this. So let's get started on how we might want to get going on something like that. What we have here is the raw data. So this is the exact data that is in the pivot table that was all formatted. So we're just basically starting from scratch and working our way up. There's a few other videos in this series that talk about how to get to this point and beyond. So I'm just accelerating the process and jumping right in. So I've already imported the data, 1,185 rows of data, and it's unique on these channels. And so then I created a pivot table to that effect. And so the pivot table basically, so it sorts, so it uses the source name for the columns. So it takes every unique channel name in here, and it gives the statistics for that particular column. So let's say channel 8, they probably in the field scanned, I don't know, there were 1,185 measurements taken divided by 20 unique measurements, so 60. So probably there's roughly, this probably isn't exact, but 60 measurements for channel 800, 60 measurements for 600, channel 675. And so this is basically, we're just aggregating the statistics behind those 60 measurements that were taken in the field with the RF scanner. There were quite a few measurements that were taken, and not to get too far into the weeds on things, but the only thing we're going to be interested in for this particular video is we're going to look at the received power, and we're going to want the average, the minimum, or the maximum and the minimum, and then we're also going to be interested in the received, the quality of the signal. So so what I did is I brought in the received power 3 times, because we're going to look at 3 different variations of that, and then we're going to look at received quality. So this one is the max. So we just highlight this, right click, and come over here, field values, and I'm sorry, this is the average. So we'll do average, and notice how I did change the header to average. This set, we're going to make the maximum. This one, we're going to make the minimum. And finally, this one, we're going to look at the average of the signal power, quality, I'm sorry. This one, and then we'll take the average of that. So there you go. Right off the bat, the formatting's weird. I can see some have in terms of the precision. So why not just grab them all, right click, format cells, come over here, number, just say 2 decimal places. That's plenty for what we're doing. So now they all have a uniform appearance to them. These up top, it would be nice to clean all these up. And so a trick you can use, I was just going to apply it to the whole row here. Right click, format cells, and then go to alignment and do this, wrap the cell. So that way we can make it the cell wider like this, and then as we can do this, and it will wrap. we don't want it to say that. That's kind of a mouthful. It doesn't make a lot of sense anyway. So we can change this just to we'll call this average RSRP. Another thing to highlight it, hit just make them all in the middle. And then we can use this kind of format and drag this over. So now, it doesn't work that way. That's a good copy. No, it doesn't like that either. So, okay. Anyways, we'll call this max. And you can play around with the cells too, since we are trying to make something look nice. So that one's 9. This one, yeah, pretty close, like 9. This one can be min, so it makes all these. So I've got these. I changed all this. This coloring is really. This is a preference, but this is pretty simple stuff, so I'm not going to really mess around with this for the video, but you can change the formatting of that. I added in some things on the other video. It does, but this is just showing you can. This helps for what I'm working on for my particular. This makes sense to me more than it does probably to everybody else. So, but this is more just to show you that you can add more things in here as you need them. This would be the carrier, and this would be the channel. It just helps to have it over here for me. And then let's see. Actually, I think what did I do here? And then I inserted. Actually, I think we have to have this for the stats anyway. So might as well bring it all in. Insert, and then I brought it over. And the other one. Let's see if this works. Bring this information over. Yes, I did it. Okay. This is bare bones formatting here, but this is really simple, easy, so I'm not going to get too carried away making all this look super pretty, because everyone's going to have their own ideas how they might want this to look. I'll just make it look a little more consistent across the whole thing. The grand total isn't really that important. It just kind of gets in the way anyways. I think we can't take it out. Maybe I'll try to take it out. Okay. Anyways, let's think about the next step here. So let's format this particular group here. So we'll highlight it, come up to conditional formatting, and then we'll choose the color scales, and then we'll pick this one. And as you can see, it already starts to give us something that's, I would say, approaching what we want, but we can do better than this. So this is what the program has given us kind of by default, which isn't bad. We want to come over here and then come to manage rules. So it created a rule for us. Didn't really ask us a lot of questions about it. It just said here, this is kind of a baseline. And if we look at this, actually the underlining rule doesn't make a lot of sense for what we're trying to accomplish here. So what we actually want this to be is, so it's trying to base it on what you have here, the data that it sees. So it's taking the lowest number, the highest number, which would be good if we only had one column of data, but we want all these to be consistent across each other, the values. So the way we're going to have to come up with a numbering scheme and then keep it consistent across all of these. So we're going to say that we actually want a number, because we're going to hard code something in here, and then we're going to apply that across all of these. So at this point, this is where you have to kind of know your data a little bit, and so I know that a signal that 115 is low, and so we're in the red. I'll say that minus 100 is kind of in the middle, if not a little on the low side, and then we'll say good maximum signal would be minus 80 or better. Is not a maximum, but it's on the better side. So if you're in the 80s, you got good cellular signal. And so what we'll see is we'll apply that, and we'll do that, and now apply it, and then that changes our color scheming a little bit. But what's most important is that will populate through here, and so we'll see how that really makes a difference over here. Because if we use the same technique on the max or the minimal one, it's going to try to do that same thing. So it's going to say the minimum signals are going to be really low, so it's going to come along here. It's going to say, oh, minus 109. That's the best signal here. So I'm going to make that green, and pivot from there. And so we have already talked about that the signal of minus 109 is definitely in the orange, if not approaching red. So we don't want that. We want it to be the same as this. So all we're going to do here is just do again and again what we already did. And by far, the easiest way to accomplish that is to come over here, highlight one of the cells, grab your little format painter, and just come like this and format that baby. And now you've got that. And so this did what we wanted to do. It didn't take this as the lowest one and make that green and then pivot from there. It said, oh yeah, I know that these are the 109. That's low. That should be orange. And so it's just taking our structured format and applying it across all these. I got a little ahead of myself here because I shouldn't have highlighted this one with that, but that's not a big deal. We can do it too. We can just do this, and then let's just redo it. And go here, format painter, and here. So this is a good example or an exercise of where you have to think outside the box once again, because once we get to average RSRQ, this number has nothing to do with signal level, so we need to come up with another gradient, so to speak, that works. So we can keep with the same gradient idea that we did before. So what happened there? Actually, one good thing to do is name this one. So as you get bouncing around, you'll know that this one takes you back to the pivot table. So pro tip there. And so we'll highlight these, and then we'll come back up to conditional formatting. Let's look at this. That was this one. And then, of course, it tried to do its best. But we're going to do better. And so we'll come up here, manage rules, and this is the one that was on the icon. So we will go ahead and grab this. And once again, here we are in the situation where you kind of have to know what levels are good. You know, is minus 29 good, bad? I mean, the way Excel sees it, it must be bad because it's the lowest. It's a low number here. So, but Excel doesn't know, what receive quality is for cellular. So we have to kind of help it along here a little bit. So once again, we'll say number, and then this would be up to the individual putting things in, but in my opinion, a minus 22 is not a very good quality level. Minus 13, it could be thought of as kind of in the middle. And then minus 4 is pretty darn good quality. So we'll say that, and then okay, and then we'll apply that to these. So that does change these quite a bit, and this is not a surprise to me, because I know where they were measuring these signals. They were pretty far away from cellular sources, so I would expect to see the quality to be lower, even though we did have a marginal kind of good signal. It's probably not that good, and if you look at it, let's see, that's on 700, so they're not getting a heck of a lot of bandwidth, so that's factoring in there as well. 700 megahertz signal is not going to carry like a 2100 megahertz signal. However, 21 megahertz will not penetrate into a building as good, so you have this kind of little bit of each. Both, but for making a straight up phone call, this would be a good marker for downloading data and things like that. This would be a little bit better marker. So good SMS messaging, text messaging, cellular, probably not as much good data throughput. Next, how about if we add some little signal bars in here, some icons that kind of gives a nice visual representation, especially if you're going to put this into a report and pass it along to the customer. Certainly the little bars will make a lot more sense to the average person as opposed to numbers, which most people don't understand. So why don't we go ahead and go to here, icon set, we'll grab the one with 5, and do that. And of course, once again, Excel tries its best to apply these across based on what it sees, but we know from our discussions that minus 98 is not exactly a 97 is not exactly a full bar signal level. So we'll tweak that, no problem. We'll come up here, we go to manage rules, find where it says icon set. Once again, it was trying to use percentage too, which is definitely not what we want to do. So we'll change that to number, and then let's come along here and make this minus 80, and then this guy, once again, this is subject to whatever you want to use, whatever you think is good. I found that these have worked well for me, and then minus 105, and that was going to be number 2, and then okay. That's because we did something sideways. Minus 95. There we go. Okay. 5. Alright, so we got our data bars across there. Remembering like we did before, we'll grab that format paint, but don't do the average, and then like that. So there you go, and that makes a lot of sense given. So the little signal bars are very, like you'd see on your cell phone. This is real low signal, nothing's filled in. That was because we're looking at the minimum of each of all those measurements it took, all 20 of those measurements it took for channel. At some point it was minus 118, at another point it was 105. So, and then this gives the average between the two. So probably, or this is the average, this is the max, and then so probably this is of most interest to your customer, but probably want to look at your data points and see what your overall is. So if you heat map this, you should be able to see just to make sure that there's not just one little section is getting good signal and the rest of it is not that good. So, but this is a good general idea. It usually works pretty good. And then you would have to apply it over here. In the sake of time, I'll just leave that exercise to the viewer to do that, because I wanted to jump over and take a look at the other stats worksheet that I made. So the next worksheet is stats, and I'm not going to build this. I'm just going to go over, because it would take a long time to build this from scratch again. So I'm just going to kind of go over what my thought process was and show you some of the formulas I used and how I did it, and let you do what you would like to do with it. So we're looking at the same things as we're talking about: the average signal, minimum signal, and max signal. But what I was interested in is that I wanted to know. So let's say here, Verizon has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they have 7 bands that got measured when they were doing the scan, and so I want to know, of those seven bands that they scanned, which one gave the best signal, because that's the one I'm going to chase down when I create my heat map. So I don't have to create a heat map for each one of these. I'll just find the one that has the highest signal. So that's what's going on over here. So the Verizon that had the so this is bringing in the Verizon signal that had the best average, and it was the band was 850, and the channel was 8850. And so this information is coming in from the pivot table. So it's tied to this, and basically it's using a max if formula. So to to get that information, I'll take this information and put some kind of link to it or something, so people can just grab it and cut and copy it, and not just have to try to read it off of this. So that's how I is going on right here, and so this is hard coded, so that way this knows to it knows to look for Verizon, because so it comes over here and looks at this. Let's see, it's coming over and it won't tell us. And no, it's C4. So yeah, it's coming over. It's saying right here, it's saying in comparison to what? And so I'm saying in comparison to VZW, Verizon. And so that's looking over here. So it's saying, it's grabbing this and saying, okay, you want me to find something with VZW. And so it comes over here and it says, okay, I see VZW. Okay, I'm going to look at this one. And then, so it kind of does it like this in computer terms. So it comes over, and I don't even know if I can do this. So it sees this, it sees this, it sees this, it sees this. The software sees this, and sees this, and that. So it says, oh, okay, so these are all the ones that I've seen Verizon on. Now let me come over here and see who had the best average signal. So it's going to look at this one, this one, this one, this one, and then it's going to come over here and throw it in the stats. And so that's how it comes up with this. And it's going to tell me, and so it gives us that. Then the next thing it's going to do is it's going to tell me which band that one was associated with. So it's going to use a filter, and same thing right here. Same kind of concept. It's just filtering through and doing that. And so, and then it's going to say which channel, which is basically the same idea as before, as the one above it, or the one to the side, this one, same kind of idea. So I'll take all three of these formulas and try to put them in the comments or something, or a link to them. And that's how those are generated. And then so what you want to do is build this first. Don't even think about the graph at this point. Just build this table. And then you can shoot your graph off of this information right here. So this is, since we're talking about negative values, you kind of have to think, inverted graphs seem to work the best for me. So the longer these are, the less the signal is. So the shorter, so as you see here, you hardly have any bit of a graph, or a column here. You have good signal. The longer means bad signal. Now to get the graph in, it's all based on this column right here, the average RSP. So if you go ahead and highlight these three, and then you just come up to insert, and you can just to get rolling, you can go ahead. You can see recommended. Excel's gonna try to give you a couple ideas. You can just grab this to get started, and then you can format from here. So it kind of gives you a seed graph, and you know that. Oops, I don't want to do that. That's good to start. That's something to go off of. So that's, and then from here, basically all I did was just then they start giving you styles. So that's where you can start making things, start having a lot of fun. So if you get off of it or something or don't know, so as soon as you click on it, it come up to chart styles. It's going to start suggesting all kinds of things. So you could grab like this, that one looks kind of cool. So that's basically what I did. And let me see if we got one. Yeah, this is a little bit better because you get your scaling here. Once again, so you've got a seed, and you can just go like this for just make it bigger for now. It's not gonna hurt anybody's feelings to make it look like this, just so we can see what we're doing, and then just kind of start monkeying around. I go for so. Just like the problems we ran in before, they're going to assign an axis that they think is best, which isn't going to, and we want it to be consistent because we want all these graphs as you look across them to be consistent. So we can right click, format axis, and then come over here and make our minimum at about 140. That will pick up some of our really low signals that we get from the minimum, which is actually too low anyways. It really should be closer to 130. Is it? Probably we'll say 130. Even 130 is starting to get off the charts a bit. And then maximum, we're going to say -70 just because I know we're not getting very good signal anyway. So there you go. Let's see, hit enter, and then so now it's formatted. It's given us an axis that will work across not just for the average, but it will also incorporate the minimum signals that we know. Just looking at this, some of these are going into pushing 120, so we want to be able to have this work for the minimum signals as well. And then from here, you just start formatting. Kind of play around with it. This is really kind of up to the. There's not a lot of tips or tricks beyond this because you can just format it the way you want. You can give it a title. That's always good to have. We'll call this one average signal. Each map's going to have a little bit different way of formatting, and from here, probably if you really want to tweak things in and get fancy, watch a few videos from people who know a lot more about Excel than me, about how to make these things look nice and fancy. I'm probably not the best person by any stretch to give advice on how to style a chart or a graph. So I'll just leave it here, kind of get you to this point. I'll figure out how I can get these. I think it's in the stats one. We can get these formulas and stuff. I'll probably post it on my LinkedIn, and they'll probably be on my YouTube account as well. So between those two, I'll figure out how to get this stuff up so you can just cut and paste it for your own stuff. So hopefully that helps, and thanks a lot for watching.